It's just what happens if you do something that you love to do consistently for a long period of time. You're going to get good at it. And when you get good at something, it does give you a lot of confidence. I can say that for sure. And I would just suggest that to anybody that wants to have a good life. I think you can have a really good life if you're really good at something. And it doesn't really take so much of a sacrifice. An hour a day, every day, for 10 years, you're going to be great at something. And now a couple hours a day for 20 years, whoa. 3 hours a day for 50 years, well, there you go. But if it's something that you love to do, just map out that time and do it. Without being egotistical, no conceit here. When I hear my sax recorded, like when I give it my stamp of approval, I sit back and go, that's beautiful. I just say it.
Kenny G is the best-selling instrumental musician of the modern era, with more than 75 million albums sold worldwide. But the 65-year-old saxophonist, composer, and producer is also a loving father of two, an accomplished golfer, a licensed pilot, and an extremely entertaining subject in the new documentary Listening to Kenny G, which premiered last December on HBO.
I've watched it 3 times, and I don't want to watch it again. Because, I mean, I don't need to. I don't need to see myself being myself. There were some really good moments in there that I really was very proud of. Some of the early stuff, when I saw myself on some of these old shows like Johnny Carson and Oprah, and interviews that I did, and I go, wow, I was so young. Gosh, I was so young. So it was really fun to watch that. And seeing the more recent stuff, I enjoyed listening to myself, you know, just kind of go through my process of how I make my music. So that's also beautiful. You can't tell that there's even an edit in there. And I felt honored that HBO was interested in doing a documentary about me. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's about it.
What it makes me feel is that it's just wallpaper.
He's just sort of part of the musical furniture of American culture.
A corporate attempt to soothe my nerves.
I signed off on editing control, which was great. That's why there's so many critics in my documentary, because I was not in control. But I'm glad they were there, you know, because I think it makes a really, really good story, because it's not really about just me and my accomplishments. It's about music and tastes in music and why people get really passionate and angry about certain music and how they want to lash out. And on the other side, how people really love music and want to be passionate about why they love it. So really good subject matter.
Is Kenny G's music a weapon of consent? You know, like, does it make people agree to comply?
I always like to look if they've written it cleverly. Like in the documentary, one of the critics said something like, is Kenny G's music a weapon of consent? I thought, wow, that was really good. I can't believe that you came up with that. And in New York, at the premiere, one of the premieres, he was there, that critic. And I went up to him, his name's Ben. I went up to him afterwards, and we hadn't met. I said, Ben, let's just shake hands. So we shook hands. I said, I just want you to know, some of the things you said in that thing were so well crafted. You are a really good writer. And I don't know how he took that, because he was obviously not that happy with my music, but it was cool. It was really cool. So a hater that's clever is cool. It's just like when there was, I don't know, jokes about me with different shows. Like somebody would ask me, like, how do you feel like they talk about your music in Wayne's World 2?
Kenny G.
Like, they don't need Novocaine, they just put your music on it, it's enough. I go, that was pretty clever. That was clever. How do I feel about that? Was clever. Or South Park, you know, I play the note that makes people crap their pants. It's like, how do you feel about that? That's pretty funny, to be honest with you. That's how I feel about that. Now, the reason that I have a really thick skin about it is it happened very early on. So we were playing the Saratoga Jazz Festival, I think. I don't know if you probably don't know this story. But at that point, my song Songbird was out. I was getting popular, and people were really like clamoring to come watch me play. So I was part of a jazz festival with a bunch of other jazz artists. I think Dizzy Gillespie was part of it, which was an honor. So we played, place was sold out. Review comes out the next day and talks about Kenny G, what a fresh new sound. Blah, 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 blah. Great, 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 great. Man, he can play, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great, cool. Next year, they ask us back. Great. Now, that's been a year of millions of records sold. And I don't say that to be conceited, I'm just telling you. So now we're coming back, and now I've had this commercial success. Not just a bunch of people interested, now it's commercial success. I played basically the same set list, because I remember what we played. And of course the audience loved it. Everybody on, all the other jazz musicians were complimentary. Review comes out. He's gone commercial. Full of gimmicks, all fluff, no substance. And I went, okay. It's just, you obviously didn't listen. You went in there, you read that I had sold a bunch of records, and you just didn't want that. You wanted to have that underground discovery, and you wanted to go, yeah, fresh new sound. Ooh, look what I found. Oh, but when the world finds it, it's commercial, it's no good anymore. And I thought, okay, don't listen to the good and don't listen to the bad. I don't think there's an artist that wouldn't want more sales. It's just that you have to know that you're not compromising the integrity of your art to get the sales, which I don't do. I play my music. And if it sells a lot of records, it wasn't because I changed my music, it was because once I finished making my album, I'm happy to promote it. I mean, why not promote it? If I can, if I have the chance. So I never really understood that argument about being it, if it's commercial, maybe it's because it's really good and lots of people like it. I don't think it's because people are duped and they're just not smart enough to know that they're getting something bad. I just don't think that's the case. So that's the way I look at it.
Last December, Kenny also revealed his latest studio album, New Standards, the 19th of his career, but his first in 6 years.
Well, if it could have been done like years ago, I would have done it. It just takes time. You know, I don't plan for it to take 6 years. And it really didn't take 6 years. I didn't probably even start it for a couple years since the last record. And then just getting ideas and starting to record and listening to what I did and fixing and tweaking. It just takes a long time. So why now? Just because that's how long it took.
New Standards features 11 original compositions, and while the songs are all inspired by the classic jazz artists of the 50s and 60s, Kenny's signature sound is unmistakable.
To have your own sound is a real, it's a blessing, it's a privilege, it's unique, and I'm grateful that's what I do. I have a sound of my own, so when you hear me play, and one thing that I really like about my documentary is what Clive Davis said. He said,
that familiarity, you don't have to guess when you hear that sax, oh, that's Kenny G.
You know, you hear 3 notes and you know it's me. And I'm lucky that way and grateful that that's just the way it is, you know. It wasn't like I woke up one day when I was, you know, in my teens and said, I'm gonna develop my own sound so that I can have a great career. It was, I play the saxophone and whenever I play it sounds like this. And I'm trying to sound like somebody else. Like I wanted to sound like Grover Washington Jr. for so many years. I could never sound like him. I just sounded like me, and eventually that turned out to be a really great thing, but it's not something that, I don't know if it's something you can make happen. I think you have to let it happen. I think a lot of problems with some of the players today is that they're trying to sound like somebody else so much that they actually do, and then they don't have a unique sound. One of my secrets of parenting is asking questions. So when my son would say something about, you know, I really hate this teacher. And I would say, well, why do you hate that teacher so much? Blah, 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 blah. Well, what do you hate about that? Blah, 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 blah. Well, what do you think you should do about it? I don't know, Dad, what do you think I should do? Well, I'll tell you, but tell me what you think first. And as we go around, after enough questions, then they don't even care what I have to say. They've answered it themselves.
Kenny first became a father back in 1993 with the birth of his first son, Max. Noah was born 4 years later in 1997.
It was great all the way around because, again, I like what I like. And if I like what I like, I want to be good at what I like. So I love being a father, so I want to be good at it. So it required just restraint. So let's say you're child does something and you know, it's not cool. So you can just blurt out something like, you're a bad person for doing that, or go to your room, or this kind of stuff. Or you could just go, that's a little restraint. Let's figure out how we can make this a teaching moment. And that's what my kids are so, right now, like my 24-year-old, like we'll be talking about something, he goes, Dad, is this another lesson? I go, are you open to it? No. I said, well, then it isn't right now, but I'll come back to it when you're open to it. All right, I'm open to it. You know, so because he knows what's going to happen. So, and then we talk about it, and we get into the fine details of certain things that might just, like most people would overlook. I like to get in there and go, let's talk about these things. So I love being a parent, and I love that part of it because, you know, my mind likes the details, and I have a lot of restraint. And so I think my kids were, I think they really benefited.
After 40 years as a recording artist, Kenny is as popular as ever. And with his new documentary, album, and upcoming tour dates, the 65-year-old smooth jazz icon is showing no signs of slowing down.
I don't know. I've always thought that if you have something of great quality, and I'm not trying to be egotistical. I'm just saying, like I said before, you do something for 50 years every day for a few hours, you should be pretty great at it. So I think I'm pretty good at what I do. So something of that quality, I think, is timeless. So I've never thought that my career was going to kind of peak and then go. I thought it would always kind of come and kind of ride those waves. But I've been around a long time, you know, and veterans like myself, I think you come up and you come down and you come up, and I feel like it's kind of a resurgence right now, which feels great to me.